when the Chicago Bears hired head coach Ben Johnson, the Chicago Bears were signing the biggest name out there in the coaching market. And now that he is here with the Chicago Bears and the Bears have started their offseason program, Ben Johnson is wasting no time not only setting expectations for himself and the team, but especially for quarterback Caleb Williams. On today's episode, we're going to talk about those expectations being set and how Ben Johnson has already endeared himself to the players and the fans of the Chicago Bears. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Terry Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And the Bears offseason program is underway, well underway. We've already had press conferences. We've heard from players, things like that. And Ben Johnson has started this off with, not only setting expectations for himself and the coaching staff and the players, but also really endearing himself to Chicago Bears fans. And one of the first things that we've heard already is that Caleb Williams is already being challenged by Ben Johnson. This one comes from Courtney Cronin, who was in attendance Tuesday when Caleb Williams addressed the media. And he said, Caleb Williams said directly, already, the first day in, they're challenging us, right? And the thing here, right, going through the cadence, going through the huddle sequence, practicing those things now, so their first habit and first nature. This is what I know. This offseason program, right? This initial one can always be looked at as something that you're just coming in, you're setting the tone, and for more times than not than it is that when you have a returning head coach, right? But with a new head coach coming into this team, and the fact that he has a clear vision, that's the difference, right? Even so far as saying this, right? That the former head coach didn't have a clear vision as Johnson has already laid out, right? That's a big thing when it comes down here, right? Is that it's a big difference in just how they're handling Caleb. Matt Eberflus, right? In July of 2024 said this. For me, it's just believing in Caleb, putting him in there and let's go. I think the expectation for him is to be a starter. He is the starter when we drafted him, and that's where we put him. We put him in a position to be that, right? So Matt Eberflus didn't have a clear plan. It was just, all right, Caleb Williams is the starter. Now, they did bring in Shane Waldron. They were hoping that's going to all help that and things like that, right? But when you look at the difference between the way that Matt Eberflus has talked about Caleb Williams and how Ben Johnson has already talked about not just wanting to challenge Caleb, but the fact of, hey, we want to get him from being a shotgun quarterback to being under center more. He will be under center more. But how he adapts to that, what he sees, what he learns from that, that's going to determine how much we throw on him. Like, there's a clear plan of how they want Caleb Williams to play as the Chicago Bears quarterback, and that's something that's really different for this team, right? Jalen Johnson has also picked in on that. That's a veteran that's on this team. He's talked about the accountability that's coming with Ben Johnson and how the accountability is really going to set them apart from what they have, right? Saying this, Jalen Johnson, if you see it, call it out. If it's not getting fixed, you got to do something. And, talking about the fact that the coaching staff is already empowering the players to hold each other accountable, but they're also having accountability, right? And so they want to hear from the players on what they feel that they're seeing out there, right? That's not something that we saw. We've heard frustrations from DJ Moore, Jalen Johnson, Jaquan Brisker over things that have happened with the Chicago Bears over the last coaching staff, right? And that is something that this coaching staff is really doing differently when it comes down to it. And so Ben Johnson is really, he's proving himself. Players got things that they need to prove, everything, right? But I think that you're seeing it different, right? Caleb Williams was asked, and he talked about the Chicago Bears and their offseason and things like that, and how the Chicago Bears have often been labeled as offseason winners, but it hasn't really come out on the field. And he said this: we can't be excited. The work hasn't been done, right? And that is the perfect way to word this for the Chicago Bears. They ain't done shit yet, right? It's great. We brought in more talent. Absolutely. Hands down, we have brought more talent, right? But it's a different thing on you have to do it. Jalen Johnson even talking about why it was important for so many players to show up to this voluntary portion of the offseason program, why you do see so many of the big name guys there, right? We're going to see teams that don't have some players showing up for the opening of training camp and OTAs, right? This voluntary offseason program, we got almost all of the big key players here for the Chicago Bears that are here. They're in the building. They're working. They're learning. It's showing the excitement and the place that this team, in the way that they failed last year, especially with how much excitement was around the team, you really get the feeling they don't want to do that shit again. They don't want to hear all the good things and positivity around the team for it to end up just failing when it comes down to it, right? And so the expectations that are around this team now, you want to feel them, right? Jalen saying this, hype don't win you no games, right? That's a great thing when it comes down to it. I've been here for a minute. I've been through the hype, and we don't win no games. So for me, it's not about winning quite. It's not about winning quite honestly. I don't really care about it. So they don't care about winning the offseason. They care about a culture shift and actually holding something different when it comes down here, right? The expectations around this team, I get it. What happens, right? Jalen, I've been through it too many times, man. I'm going to get excited when we win in November and December, and when we change some things and get into the playoffs. That's when I'm going to get excited. What have I been saying here for a long time, right? And some people have said, well, hey, you've become more of a pessimistic person. No, believe me, I'm hugely excited about what this team could be, but I'm not letting my excitement turn into expectations for this team anymore. Not until I see this team on the football field, see what they're doing, see how they're executing. Those are the things that matter the most to me right now as a Bears fan, is how this team actually performs when they get on the field. I'm tired of being offseason champions. I'm tired of looking at these things and seeing all these things that point to or hope that the Bears could come down to, that it comes down to the Chicago Bears, just not performing up to the expectations that have been set. I'm excited. I love being excited. Make no mistake about it. I absolutely love what this team has done in the offseason. I love the hiring of Ben Johnson, but I have to allow myself to patience, right? To see what we bring on the football field before I get too head over heels in regards to anything when it comes down to it, right? Tremaine Edmonds, another player that's saying it as well, as far as confidence in Ben Johnson, saying this. You can feel it, the confidence level. Being a first-time head coach, being able to address the room, that's important. You feel that as players. I felt that. I'm like, okay, this guy's the real deal. Caleb Williams, if you have that position right, in regards to the new head coach, if you have that position right, it helps with a bunch of different things. So building that bond, him pushing me and us growing together for years to come, it's going to be fun. I can't wait. And to be able to learn more about ball because he's super smart and super sharp, right? That's the thing that you love to hear from. There is a sense of urgency for this team as far as establishing that, right? And that's what this team wants to do, is establish something, doing something meaningful. The Bears have been offseason champions far too long. That shit ain't got us nowhere when it comes down to it. We ain't got nothing to show for it. We ain't got no hardware. We ain't got wins. We ain't got a playoff appearance. We ain't got nothing to show for being solid in the offseason. You got to go out there and put it on the field, and the expectations that are being set by this coaching staff, the desire by this coaching staff to get it together, the different tone around the Chicago Bears are going to help, right? It's hard to keep everybody accountable when you have a coach that doesn't hold himself accountable. No shots to Matt Eberflus. Like I said, he's going to go on and be a really solid defensive coordinator somewhere else. But all that don't matter. You have to have a coach that's holding the players accountable and that they believe in, right? And so, Ben Johnson coming in here, and he's not wasting any time. He's not afraid to step on any toes. He's not afraid to set expectations. When you hear how the players have talked about Ben Johnson and their conversations with Ben Johnson up until this point, you love it, right? Tremaine Edmonds also throwing this in. He doesn't just want to win. He wants to win by a lot, right? And listen, and every coach should want to do that. Now, how you win those tough, drag-it-out games is very important as well, as we all know as people who've watched football for a very long time. But overall, it still comes down to this, man. Like, the Bears just have to get it together. And in that, being able to do that, that's where the special sauce is going to be at, man. And so just watching this team grow and develop, like, Ben Johnson has a locker room. Ben Johnson has the eyes right now and the hopes from Bears fans. But as we know, it's harder to keep that than it is to initially gain it when you come into a new situation. That's going to be up to Ben Johnson and how him, Dennis Allen, Declan Doyle, Eric Bieniemy, all these guys, Antoine Randall, everybody who's in here and in this building, It's going to be up to them to maintain what this team can be and what we're trying to see from this team. Hopefully they can show it, man. I really do hope that we're talking about a team sooner rather than later that is a team that's competing at the level that we've hoped that this team can do it at. And Ben Johnson is going to be a very big part of that. And hopefully Caleb Williams is going to be a very big part of that, right? And that a lot of the questions around these guys, because make no mistake about it, there are still legitimate questions around, is Caleb going to truly be the guy? Is he going to step up in the way that the Bears need him to step up in year 2 and be that quarterback that we hoped when we drafted him that he was going to be? Again, I told you guys, I try to lay out the tempered expectations of that generational label and what that can mean for expectations. I told you guys last year. Being generational, even if he does live up to that, which again, that's more of a media term than an actual thing until you prove it on the football field, it does not mean that you are all of a sudden going to sidestep the normal processes that it takes to become a good NFL player. And now we're at that place as a team. Now we also have a head coach as well that I know everybody's going to be looking at. Everybody's going to be any mistake that the Bears make. Oh, was Ben Johnson overrated? Right? We saw it. We didn't even make it through a whole half of the first game of the Bears before people were in the comments of the live stream of the live call saying, "Are y'all seeing generational out of Caleb?" I don't see generational. It's just, and I get it. Everybody wants the same thing. They want this team to win. They want to get to that point, but it's going to take some time. But what Ben Johnson and this team is doing is that they're laying the groundwork. They're setting the expectation. They're laying that out there for themselves and creating a new environment. That's the thing that the Bears really have to master right now is how they create that new culture. How you set this culture in year 1, especially with your veterans that have been here and are still going to be here going forward in the future. That's going to be an important part because if you win those veterans over, that's going to be what sets the tone in your locker room going forward. And that's what Ben Johnson and this coaching staff really has to master in all of this is winning that team over, getting them on the same side as you, and then they can help get your vision out in the way that it needs to be gotten at, right? That's what this place is right now for the Chicago Bears. And we're going to hope that this is continue to be what we see. And, when it comes down to it, man, where the chips fall where they may, we're going to come out the other side of that and see where this team is, right? But with that said, let's get into a little bit more of the draft talk, right? Adam Schefter, he was on the Woody City Gridiron, and he talked about, potentially of Will Campbell coming to the Chicago Bears, and he said this. First up, all the Bears gave up 68 sacks last year. They've led the league in sacks allowed the last 3 years, I believe. They've gone out and traded for Joe Tooney, Jonah Jackson, have added Drew Dahlman, so they solidified the interior part of their offensive line. If somehow Will Campbell slid to 10, which I don't expect, to me it's a no-brainer. You take Campbell. You're slotting him in. You're protecting your quarterback, and you move forward like that. That's an easy pick. That's why I can't imagine Will Campbell getting out of the top 10 because at the very worst, Chicago, I would think, would have to take the guy if he were there at 10. I don't think he's going to be there. So not to say that Adam Schefter is the end-all be-all. He's not, right? Adam Schefter's been wrong about a lot over the course of the years. That's just what comes with the nature of the job of talking sports. You're going to be wrong more than you're right. It just is what it is, right? That happens here. It happens everywhere, right? But when you look at it, if Will Campbell does get to the Bears, which we did hear, again, earlier in this offseason, that if he's there at number 10, the Bears are taking him, right? I know that the video leaked out with Ryan Poles and Dennis Allen talking about Mason Graham. But when you look at it, right, at the teams ahead of the Bears that need some serious help on the interior of their offensive line, the Jacksonville Jaguars there at number 5, they need help on the interior offensive line, which means a guy's probably going to come out, maybe Mbao there, depending on how they slate him, right? You look at the New York Jets at number 7. They have a void right now, right tackle as well. It could definitely be a option for them there. So there's that as well. So if he does not get there, to the Chicago Bears at number 10, the Bears still have a lot of options. This is why we spent some time talking about other offensive lineman options that still make sense for the Chicago Bears. It probably does mean you're then going to either the end of the first round or just waiting to see who's there at the second round to address some more of your offensive line. But if you look at it, right, we'll see what happens as far as there are not going to be a lot of quarterbacks to go early in this draft. And so because of that, positions like where Will Campbell's at, it leaves them to kind of be taken early and ahead of the Bears. I know some people have heard what Adam Schefter said, and the Bears probably aren't going to get Will Campbell, and that very well could be true, right? It's still a chance of that. But that is why, like, we've been spending a lot of time here talking about everything and every option that the Bears could have at that offensive line. It's not a Will Campbell or you can't address your offensive line meaningfully draft. It's just not that, right? Now, of course, Will Campbell is a dog. He's a beast. He's a monster. And I would love for him to be on this offensive line. I don't give a damn about that arm length. Like I said, even if you do. Now, the off chance you do have to move him to guard, Joe Tooney is an older player. He can eventually take over there, guard for Joe Tooney. That's what I think it comes down to. But, as everything goes forward into this draft, again, we'll be here to talk about every single bit and piece of it. That's just what we're going to do. And we'll see what happens when it comes down to that. But you guys can let me know how you feel on all that down below, as always. But I do want to get it. A lot of you guys have been going off in the voicemail. We probably got like 10 voicemails already at this point. Voicemail bag day isn't till Friday. So we still got a lot that we need to get into when it comes down to it. But we do got one that I want to get into, and this one's from Speed.
Hey, Central, Chicago Central. I'm a first-time caller, but I've been watching you guys' show for a long time. My name is Speed. I'm a Chicago native, Chicago everything for one, but I'm calling about our Bears. And I want to just say that I'm interested in this draft, man. I think a lot of people, are down on Cole Kmet, and I think, in these past, seasons or whatever, he's shown us flashes that he could be the number one tight end for us. So, I'm not all in on us drafting no tight end in the first round. I do think we need to add another running back to our room because, Roshan just hasn't proven that he can stay healthy, and I doubt that Swift can play another season where he play all of the games, and stay healthy, and, carry most of the load. I like that we used Roshan on the goal line last year, but even that just got him hurt, you know what I'm saying? But I think we need to truly, continue to focus on our offensive line because, again, Caleb Williams needs to be protected. I will say that I'm a Caleb Williams fan, and I want to see him do better this year, even though he had a solid rookie season. But I think we still need to get somebody else on that line that could, just in case injury, because we did good by getting a bunch of people that can protect for him, but we know how this game goes. Somebody may go down. We don't have the backups at this point, to replace none of the starters to, solidify that line. I'm not a Braxton Jones fan at all, to be honest. So I do want to focus on that left tackle position. But either way they go, I think whoever we bring in going to help us significantly. So I just want us to continue to focus on that line. I also want to add lastly that I'm glad we focus on the defensive line too because, man, I just hate that we rarely ever get sacks, man. It's so terrible that we can't get no pressure on the quarterbacks, man. All those third downs and longs we've been having, they just got all day in the pocket. So I don't care who you is, you're going to be able to cover that long. But, again, man, I just wanted to give my thoughts. I'm a first-time caller. Chicago up. Bear down, man.
All right, so you threw a lot there at us. First, as far as the Cole Kmet, I like you. I think that Cole Kmet under Ben Johnson could be very good for the Chicago Bears team, right? I think that he can have a bounce back year, and it really comes down to how they view Tyler Warren, right? I personally would like to see other positions addressed first, but again, I wouldn't be mad at all if they do draft Tyler Warren because I could see the ways that they're going to use him. Like I said, they could slot him in as a receiver sometimes. He could come out the backfield. He could be a tight end. You could use a lot of different ways while him and Cole Kmet are both still on the team. And then maybe Ben Johnson is hey, we're just going to roll with both of them. You got one on the rookie scale deal, one on their contract extension, and we'll see where things fall in the future if and when we need to make another move. So, that's an opportunity there. Now, as far as the running back, right, I do think running back is going to be addressed in this draft. I think there's been too many signs and talks of otherwise for it to not to be something where we don't address the running back. And for the reasons that you mentioned, Roshan has not shown his ability to stay healthy. I still think that even if you do, depending on what type of running back you draft, that doesn't mean that if Roshan can't stay healthy, they're still not going to get some opportunities. Of course, that's going to be lessened. But I do think that running back is going to be addressed in this draft as well. Braxton, it just depends on where they draft players at, right? Like you can either draft somebody that it's clear that they're going to start above Braxton Jones, or you can draft somebody who's coming in to compete with him, and maybe they take over the position in the future after his contract expires. But I'm of the mind, too, that I think unless Braxton has what is labeled as an amazing season, his time with the Chicago Bears is coming to an end. And I think that's just the reality of what's happening here. It is what it is. I mean, you got to, not everybody's meant to stay for the full time, right? As far as the defensive line, I love the way that the Bears have addressed the defensive line so far. And rumors have been believed they're not done addressing it in the draft yet, right? But I think that defensive line is going to free up so much for the linebackers. You also look at how we're going to use Kyler Gordon, at that nickel position and what that frees up. That's going to be special as well. Like, we could have a Bears team that has a really diverse and interesting set of play calls, and that's where things get even more fun for the defense, right? So all those things I think are on the table. Great voicemail speed. I wanted to play it. First-time caller. I appreciate you for calling in and supporting the channel, man. Make sure you guys are following us at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.